Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central, reaching you live from Lagos, Nigeria. My name is Felicity Ezewike. The headlines at this hour. Somalia political leaders agree path to presidential elections. Authorities in Ghana suspend rescue efforts for trapped miners. And Nigeria gets new chief of army staff. We'll bring you details shortly. Where the Somali government has announced that delayed elections would now hold within 60 days following months of deadlock over the vote that erupted into violence in the troubled country. In mid-April, the two-year extension mandate of President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed Farmajo expired on February 8 without elections being held, leading to violent clashes in the capital. In early May, Farmajo had tasked Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein to oversee that elections were held as soon as possible. The PM called for a meeting of all political leaders last Saturday, where they all agreed to hold elections within the next 60 days. All right, we now move to West Africa, where Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed Major General Farouk Yahaya as the new Chief of Army Staff. He replaces Lieutenant General Ibrahim Tahiru, who died recently alongside other officers in a military air crash. Prior to his appointment, Major General Yahaya was the general officer commanding one division of the Nigerian Army and the incumbent theater commander of the counter-terrorism counterinsurgency military outfit in the northeast, codenamed Operation Hadinkai. The president's appointment was conveyed in a statement by the acting director, Defense Information, Brigadier General Onyema Wachuku. Let us take a look at the biography of Major General Farouk Yahaya in brief.
Of Army Staff, Major General Farouk Yahaya was born on the 5th of January 1966 in Sifawa, Bodinga local government area of Sokoto State. Major General Yahaya, who was a member of the 37 regular course of the prestigious Nigerian Defense Academy (NDA), started his cadet training on the 27th of September 1985. He was commissioned into the Nigerian Army Infantry Corps on the 22nd of September 1990. Major General Yahaya has held several appointments, including staff, instructional, and command. Notable among the appointments held by the new Chief of Army Staff are Garrison Commander, Headquarters, Guards Brigade, Directing Staff at the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Deputy Director, Army Headquarters, Department of Military Secretary. He also served as the Principal General Staff Officer to the Honorable Minister of Defense, the Commander, Headquarters, 4th Brigade and 29th Task Force Brigade. He was also Director Manpower at the Army Headquarters, Military Secretary, Army Headquarters, and General Officer Commanding 1st Division of the Nigerian Army. Until his appointment as the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Farouk Yahaya was the Theater Commander Operation Hadinkai, responsible for counterterrorism and counterinsurgency operations in northeast Nigeria. The new Chief of Army Staff is a proud holder of several honors and awards, some of which include Forces Service Star, Meritorious Service Star, Distinguished Service Star, Grand Service Star, Past Staff Course, National Defense Course, Economic Community of West Africa States Monitoring Group Medal. He is married and blessed with children.
Quite an impressive resume. Joining us now is intelligence analyst Okai Akibe. He talks to us on MC Continental Prime for an expert view on the significance of the new Chief of Army Staff. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, good evening.
All right, could you tell us the significance of this decision by the president? What does this mean for the Nigerian Army?
Well, a change of command is something to be anticipated periodically in the military. So this is, well, happening at a very unfortunate time. I mean, one of the dreams of every young officer, once you pass out of Nigerian Defense Academy, is to become a chief of your service. But this is a very unfortunate circumstance. It's not something that you kind of dream about, that you'd be taking over from, somebody that's unfortunately died under tragic circumstances. But that said, there's a job that needs to be done. And one of the things that military training affords you is to be able to focus on the objective. So there's really no vacuum. So there's been an appointment that's been made. This is the top man in charge now. He has a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. The key thing now is to be able to maintain the momentum. That's a critical principle of military operations, and he needs to just ensure that he takes the men along, restores morale, and gets the job going.
From the brief we showed earlier, he does have quite an impressive resume, I mean, from an ordinary man's perspective. But there are people who argue that he's not the most qualified for that position. What's your thinking on that?
Well, I guess that would be subject to different analysis, from different points of view. And the reason I say that is that, for you to pass out to the academy, you have to qualify, first of all. And that's why you're commissioned, and not commissioned by just anyone, but you're commissioned by the commander-in-chief. And you go through a lengthy process. Each rank has obstacles. For you to attain the next rank, you have to qualify for that. And like you said, you've seen the resume. And this is a gentleman, senior officer. If you go through the records right from his training days in the Nigerian Defense Academy, I met him there. He was 3 years ahead of me. He distinguished himself within his course. He was an appointment holder. So look, I believe that there are lots of great guys, because I've worked with most of these people almost 30 years now. So it's always going to be a difficult thing to make a choice out of a lot of people that have established themselves. There are going to be a lot of parameters to be considered. And at the end of the day, one individual will emerge. We were drawn a triangle when we got into the Nigerian Defense Academy. It looks like a pyramid sometimes. So you understand that there's a progression, and at some point, somebody sits at the top of that pyramid. And today, that's General Yahaya.
Considering the way he got the appointment, quite unfortunate, the demise of the previous Chief of Army Staff. But then people would say there is no official handover of responsibility, so to speak. How do you think he will take on that responsibility? What would be his focus? Because there's so much challenges security-wise in this country.
Well, the military has a very robust structure. He has a lot of people to work with. He has chiefs, he has military assistants, all kinds of people that are well trained. They've been to staff colleges all around the world. So he has a lot of people that will work with him to ensure that he's able to catch up with where he needs to be, and to be able to focus on the major job at hand, which is being able to take on the new challenges. What we are facing right now is a complex security situation. I would like to call it a complex security equation, because there are many aspects of it. On the one hand, we started off with terrorists. We've called them insurgents. We're dealing with bandits and kidnappers. So there's a lot to deal with. And we have to remember that the military is not operating in isolation. Military is operating alongside law enforcement. You've got other services, the intelligence services, the DSS, for instance, and a lot of other agencies that are working together to ensure that, we are able to create some kind of stable condition in the country.
I will certainly see more of the situation develop for the better in the coming days. Thank you very much. Intelligence analyst Okai Akibe, thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you.
Now, Central and West African countries must develop new strategies and tactics with which to tackle the root causes of insurgency and surmounting insecurity and other emerging crimes. The Commandant, Nigerian Army School of Signals, Major General Olusegun Adesina, made this statement at the 16th edition Nigerian Army Leadership Development Seminar 2021, tagged Leadership Excellence in the Digital Era, at the Nigerian Army School of Finance and Administration in Apapa, Lagos State. Details of this is presented in this report.
New tactics and renewed training are needed in surmounting insecurity and other emerging crimes. Stakeholders at the 16th edition of the Nigerian Army Leadership Development Workshop said leadership is imperative in overcoming security challenges, which had manifested in rampant techno-religious figures for ransom, banditry, and increasing waves of terrorism.
Leadership is very key. It is vital to us controlling insurgency and indeed other challenges and threats we have in Nigeria. So leadership at all levels of command, at the tactical, at the operational, and at the strategic level. You see, most organizations, civil, public organizations, MDAs of government, they are organizations. We have leadership everywhere, but the leadership in the military is very unique because it's a matter of life and death.
I help participants who are yet to join the membership of the Institute to do so and enjoy the enormous benefits that comes with your membership. As you do, I'm assured that at the end of the day, you will turn out as better professional managers in the Nigerian Army, the nation, and the nation will be better for it.
I'm very clever.
The seminar was held in a sober reflection considering the recent death of the Nigerian Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Ataheru.
We're in a state of mourning. So the implication of this is that the festivity, the candor and glamour that you'll have experienced by being in this institution had probably been reduced.
What this decade will entail.
The leadership seminar is crafted to equip the participants with the right skills, values, and orientation to carry out their roles effectively and officially through the use of global management practices. Army officers from the rank of lieutenant colonels and above, in view of their roles on policy formation and implementation in the Army, attended the session.
A joint security team has rescued several Nigerians kidnapped from Guraka in Tafa local government area of Niger State. The kidnap had sparked a protest in the community and led to the burning of the community police station. New Central Television had exclusively covered events in Guraka, where residents said they were tired of witnessing one kidnap after another without any action from security agencies. We will bring you details of this story in our subsequent bulletins. Now, still in Nigeria. It was the celebration of Children's Day today, as parents have been urged to teach their words good behavior and instill in them high moral values. New Central's Omolola Ololade compiled this report.
Children's Day in Nigeria is celebrated each year on the 27th of May. The day is set aside to raise public awareness of problems faced by children across the country while ensuring that children's rights are not violated. The custodian of these children talks about the need to prepare the younger generation for the future while making education accessible for all children regardless of their socioeconomic background.
Parents need to not be in a box. That's very, very important. We need to get new knowledge. We need to be knowledgeable with the times and flow with the times so that we can be in a very good position to, advise our children and guide them and let them know that they can be anything they want to be. That's critical. That's critical. It makes the children dream, big dreams, makes them go all out to think the impossible.
However, parents emphasize inculcating moral values and self-discipline in today's children as the younger generation are gradually disregarding ethics and these values slowly diminishing over the years.
Parents need to understand, one, that we are African. We really are African. I mean, when we're growing up, you will do something wrong on the way from school and someone will discipline you. And your mother will be grateful to that person. I'll say, oh, thank God for that person. But today, can everyone do that freely?
In a chat with some kids regarding today's Children's Day celebration, they shared some of their fun facts.
I like it that sometimes my mommy gets me what I want. It will be that people always listen to me and don't listen to other people. I want to be a farmer, a soldier.
If I want to change one thing about the world, I'm going to invent a machine. It's going to be used for sweeping, mopping, and cleaning dishes. I want to be a footballer because I want to have more money.
If children are indeed the future of tomorrow, then we must nurture them right so that they grow up to be able leaders and lead the world towards light. Happy Children's Day. Omolola Ololade reporting for News Central.
Still in West Africa, authorities in Ghana have suspended rescue efforts for illegal miners trapped in a collapsed pit. They say the terrain is too difficult, despite fears that there could be more people trapped inside. At least 3 people are known to have died at the site in Bremen, in the south of the country. Their bodies have been retrieved, and investigations are currently ongoing to determine the cause of the accident. They had gone to the site at night because of a government crackdown on illegal mining activities. Mining accidents are very common in Ghana, and 5 people died last year in the same district when a mining pit caved in. Now, let's go back to Somalia, where the government has announced that elections will be held within 60 days. And to give us some insight on what's going on there, we have News Central correspondent Abdinor Adin joining us on Continental Prime. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, after 9 months, we now have an agreement signed. Tell us about this new document.
Well, indeed, it isn't new, as the term says, but it is a fulfillment of some of the content of the initial agreement, which included the composition of the elections body at federal and at state level, among many other details. It's only that there are some, pushes and pulls in the process, and finally, after the talks spearheaded by the Prime Minister, Mohamed Hussein Roble, then they've put the ink on it, the federal member states president.
Tell us about the big issue in Mogadishu today.
Well, at the Afisioni Convention, it was a day which brought together 2 former heads of state, as well as the current president and all the leadership in the country. And it was a day where, millions of Somalis were expecting with a lot of hopes and optimism. And finally, it came to yield some fruit. There were speeches, speaker after speaker, and finally it ended with all the leaders asking for forgiveness from one another, terming that their previous differences were just political and not in bad faith.
What were the theme of the speeches? What were the key things that dominated the speeches?
Well, if I take us back a few months, we've had a situation in the country following Parliament's extension, not extension per se, but Parliament's decision to take the country from indirect elections to 1 person, 1 vote, which required 2 years of preparation. And we've had some members of the forces, saying that they do not allow that situation to happen. Therefore, there was some, fears of instability in the capital, Mogadishu. But today, the dominant themes in the speeches were that all those events should now be history, because the most important moment in the country was the signing of that agreement, which means that the country is heading to the polls. Therefore, it was asking for forgiveness and everyone seeking a new chapter heading into the future.
What is the reaction, the thematic reaction among partners and international organizations?
A few hours ago, we've had the United Nations, the Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, releasing a statement there, endorsing the outcome of the signing of the agreement today. We've also had initially the regional bodies such as IGAD and many other within and outside Somalia also expressing their support for the new agreement. And finally, we've also seen even one of the former presidents, Qasim Salat Hassan, who joined the conference via a video call, also endorsing the process. Therefore, it means it has all the support required, and there is no turning back from the electoral process now.
All right, Abdinor, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up on the news, Moroccan authorities to vaccinate prison inmates. We'll tell you details when we return. Former South African President Jacob Zuma will have to find millions of rands to cover a hefty legal bill after the Constitutional Court dismissed a case that he brought challenging the creation of the country's commission into state capture. The former president's lawyers were a no-show at the Constitutional Court today, leading the court dismissing the case. Zuma was also ordered to pay the legal costs in the case. This is now the third cost order against Zuma in this matter, and the fees are estimated to be between 6 million and 10 million rand. That's between 437,000 and 729,000 US dollars. South African journalist and editor Diane Hawker joined us earlier on the news and gave insight into this trial.
President, yesterday we saw that he was in court for his criminal matter. This case was a case that he brought, a civil case, in which he was arguing that the report that actually established the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, that's a report by the public protector. He was arguing that that report was actually unconstitutionally made. His main contention was that when the former public protector actually instructed the Chief Justice to choose the judge who was to actually preside over the Commission of Inquiry, that was overstepping her powers, because the legislation in South Africa actually stipulates that the president should be the person who institutes a Commission of Inquiry. However, in the previous cases that were heard at the High Court as well as the Supreme Court of Appeal, the court found that actually he couldn't have possibly been the one who selects the judge in the case, because he was actually conflicted. And a lot of the state capture evidence, and as well as the allegations, actually pointed to former President Jacob Zuma being directly involved in the allegations of state capture. And they upheld that decision, along with actually saying that he must pay the costs in his personal.
Let's now tell you about the vaccination decision made recently by the Moroccan government. Now, about 300 inmates in a prison near the Moroccan capital have been vaccinated against COVID-19, among the latest prisoners to benefit from a vaccination campaign that authorities say reflects a commitment to protect a population considered especially vulnerable. Inmates aged 45 and older lined up for AstraZeneca vaccine shots at Al-Ajat 1 prison, where both men and women are incarcerated. As of Thursday, about 4,400 of the approximately 11,500 inmates eligible had been vaccinated since a national campaign was launched at the beginning of the year. Morocco has about 85,000 inmates in 77 prisons, and chronic overcrowding has become a critical issue during the coronavirus pandemic. The number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Africa has reached 4,788,216 as of Thursday noon. This is according to the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC. The Africa CDC, the specialized healthcare agency of the African Union, says the death toll from the pandemic stands at 129,345, while 4,335,780 patients across the continent have recovered from the disease. South Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, Ethiopia and Egypt are the countries with the most cases in the continent, according to the Africa CDC. Now, with the rollout of COVID-19 vaccines such as AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson and others, the World Health Organization, WHO, is raising concerns as to the increasing number of COVID-19 related cases across the African continent. In a stakeholders meeting comprising both Francophone and Anglophone countries, WHO warned about lowering the protective measures towards COVID-19. It also is calling for more funding of the healthcare industry in the continent to facilitate locally produced vaccines. News Centre's Mary Chinda reports.
The World Health Organization is taking the increased number of COVID-19 in the African continent more seriously. The organization, in a virtual meeting on Thursday, says there is need for an equitable distribution of vaccines and more investment in Africa's healthcare system.
We know that these vaccines will not necessarily stop you being infected by the virus, but what we are looking for initially as benefit and value from the vaccine is preventing severe illness and preventing death. So I would say that this is a situation in the Seychelles at the moment. I think that this is a big opportunity to move on an agenda that's already very much been agreed upon and to link it with resilience to a pandemic and, in fact, response to the COVID-19 pandemic today. And we as WHO are working with partners and governments to pursue this agenda at the same time as supporting the response to the pandemic.
In Lesotho, the health minister of Lesotho says if Africa must reduce the number of COVID-19 related deaths, then there is a need to invest on locally produced COVID-19 drugs.
We have learned in Lesotho that the so-called waves of this pandemic are in fact a direct result of our day-to-day decisions. We need discipline. We need resilience. We need to be altogether focused on preventing rather than dealing with the cases of COVID.
It would be recalled that the African continent has recorded at least 4 million cases of the virus with almost 120,000 deaths. Mary Chinda for News Central.
Still ahead on NC Continental Prime, China criticizes US for revisiting origin of COVID-19 outbreak. Details after the break. Join us again. Good to know you're still with us. Now, China has denounced US efforts to further investigate whether COVID-19 came from a Chinese lab. US President Joe Biden says he expects to release the results of an intelligence report on the origins of the virus. China's foreign ministry accused the US of political manipulation and blame shifting. It has rejected any link between COVID-19 and a virus research lab in the Chinese city of Wuhan. COVID-19 was first detected in Wuhan in late 2019, and since then, more than 168 million cases have been reported worldwide and about 3.5 million deaths reported. Authorities linked early COVID-19 cases to a seafood market in Wuhan, leading scientists to theorize that the virus had first passed to humans from animals. The European Union foreign ministers are discussing a new round of economic and sector-specific sanctions for Belarus. This comes after just days after EU leaders agreed to impose serious aviation restrictions in response to a forced landing of a passenger plane by Belarusian authorities. EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell has decried the hijacking of the plane and the detention of the two passengers as completely unacceptable. Meanwhile, Washington's Deputy Press Secretary, while responding on possible sanctions against Belarus, has said that President Joe Biden has asked his team to look into the conversation and on a menu of possible actions going forward.
Preview for you of that.
Let me ask you about Belarus if I can very quickly. The president said yesterday, I think his specific language was that sanctions, it's in play, he said, of sanctions. Has the White House, this administration, made any final decisions about possible sanctions against Belarus?
The president, as we said yesterday as well, he asked his team to look into it and come up with a kind of a menu of options on how to move forward. So we don't have anything yet to read out on.
OPay is seeking to raise $400 million from investors at a valuation of $1.5 billion. OPay is expanding and has already launched operations in Egypt from its initial base in Nigeria. The payments giant says it processed $1.4 billion in payments in October 2020 alone, and that number also reportedly increased to $2 billion by December 2020. News Central's Tolulokpe Adeleru Balogu has more in business for us.
This is business right here on NC Continental Prime. My name is Tolulokpe Adeleru Balogun. Ethiopia's drive for investment is paying off, particularly in opening up its telecommunications sector. The Safaricom-led consortium, dubbed Global Partnership for Ethiopia, won one of the two telecom licenses on offer. The consortium is made up of parent firms Vodafone and Vodacom, the British Development Finance Agency CDC Group, and Japan's Sumitomo Corporation. In a briefing with the media, Safaricom's CEO Peter Ndegwa said that the company has a stake of 55.7% in the consortium. He added that the United States government-owned International Development Finance Corporation has committed to supporting Safaricom. About 70 million people in Ethiopia do not own cellular phones. However, the Ethiopian Communications Authority expects the mobile phone services sector to attract 21 million users for the service in its first year of operations and 33 million in 5 years. And from the east to the south, the 10 most indebted South African state firms have an estimated 289.9 billion rand, or about $21 billion in loans, which would be maturing by the end of March 2025. Finance Minister Tito Mboweni disclosed this in a written reply to a parliamentary question. They include power utility Eskom Holdings, which has a 401 billion rand of liabilities and has already received several government bailouts. Mboweni said that some of the state-owned companies may struggle to refinance their debts and may require the government to provide support or some form of support. However, he further stated that there are no plans from the state to finance these firms directly. And from electricity in one part of West Africa to another, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission says more revenue has been earned by electricity distribution companies in Nigeria. More Nigerians have paid their electricity bills since the implementation of service-based tariffs, and that started in November 2020. The commission added that power users in bands A and B were now paying as much as 78% of their electricity bills to electricity distribution companies since the commencement of the tariffs. Consumers in bands A and B are higher electricity users who get more power daily than others in bands C, D, and E. The Deputy General Manager, Market Competition and Rates at the Commission, Abba Tarba, said the current tariffs that customers are paying is about 78% of the cost-reflective tariffs, which is a significant improvement. OPay is seeking to raise $400 million from investors at a valuation of $1.5 billion, according to an exclusive report from The Information. OPay is expanding and has already launched operations in Egypt from its initial base in Nigeria. The payments giant says it processed $1.4 billion in payments in October 2020 alone, and that number also reportedly increased to $2 billion by December 2020. It has fared well among investors in previous funding rounds. In July 2019, OPay raised $50 million from Sequoia Capital, IDG Capital, Source Code, GSR Ventures, and others. 4 months later, it raised a massive $120 million in a Series B round. And finally, many sectors reeled and lost from the lockdown of global commerce induced by the coronavirus. Often the focus is on entire sectors without focus on the subsectors. Some of Nigeria's corporations reportedly spent about 143.7 billion naira in 2020 on advertising. According to Nairalytics, this was a 12.5% drop from the same period in 2019. But of course, this is to be expected due to the global pandemic. On Business Edge, I spoke to Yinka Adebayo, the Executive Director, Media Reach OMD, on the future of advertising and more.
Not many clients, not many brands, not many companies actually survived the pandemic. Some went under and they are most unlikely to come back alive. That's the honest truth. Some are still able to manage. But the good thing about it is that most of the clients and the brands are coming out of their shell now. They realize the fact that, look, the pandemic, we are most unlikely to have a day when the federal government will wake up or the government will wake up and say, hey, COVID-19 is over. Now take back to life. No, we just must learn how to live with it, taking unnecessary precautionary and safety measures, and life must just go on. And most people are now warming up to that reality. And I think as we go on in the year, we are likely to be a big hub of activities coming up strong. And even the consumers too will probably be much more open to a couple of things. And we don't expect to go through that kind of experience and still expect to be the same. So meaning that online shopping, you probably will need to go out only when it's necessary and when it's essential. So brands now need to continue to evolve ways to keep on engaging people, to keep on making their product readily available, whether online or direct, and making it more accessible to each other. And life just must have to go on. But the good news is that the train has left the station finally. People are coming out of their shell, and it can only get better.
And that's all we have for you on Business on NC Continental Prime. My name is Solilokwe Adeleru Balogun. There's more news coming up right after this.
Grabbing of sports lands or fields has rendered youth without spaces for recreation, thus forcing them to drugs and vices. In Mombasa, Kenya, a sports coach has been protecting one of such strategic sports fields while also reforming youth by allowing them to be to the facility without pay. On Jami Ango tonight, we're looking at how this is panning out in the East African country, Kenya.
A pass, a pause and pace. And after a long day at school, each one of them is here, a field they call home in Mombasa. This pitch is one of the few remaining public playing fields for all the kids from various neighborhoods in this city. This pitch is a shared property for the youth in this area. For 40 years, Coach Bagazal, he has spent his time maintaining this pitch as he mentors the players. His role has been recognized by the community here. Youth in Mombasa have remained vulnerable to drugs, crime and other vices like youth in every part of the world. But the lack of recreational and sporting facilities has worsened the situation in many cities in Kenya. However, the efforts of Coach Bagazal have enabled them to engage in sporting activities, sparing their time for their fitness and progress. He expects no salary, no payment, but his satisfaction comes from the sports of these players. Coach Bagazal is ever present here, almost on daily basis, patrolling as he cheers the players. And when the pitch needs a repair or renovation, he is at the forefront.
Huu mwaka 40 niko na vijana na hakuna saidia Kenya hii. Ushafahamu? Kazi yangu ni kujitolea kuwasaidia vijana. Silipwi, basi tu ni mapenzi yangu ya kuwapenda sports, hasa football, na kujitolea kuwasaidia vijana. Sipendi kuona vijana wamekaa, nikiona na shida ya mpira natafuta mpira hatwendeni. Ili angalau waje wapate kuja kucheza.
Lack of resources such as boots and kits has not hindered the dreams of these young boys. Their balls too might be old and worn out, but their dreams are fresh in their minds as they work each and every day for their progress. When not mentoring the players, Coach Bagazal is patrolling the playing field.
Takuta hapa tumejaribu kupatengeza ili watoto wadogo wapate kucheza. Kwa sababu jioni wakitoka shule hawana pa kwenda, wanakuja wanachukua mpira wakubwa wakicheza, tukaona hapana, wacha na wao pia tuwatengezee uwanja yao. Ndio hii hapa sasa. Changamoto ni kwa wakati sisi na komiti yetu hapa Makadara ground tunajaribu kutengeza viwanja. Sisi wenyewe tunasaidiana kwa komiti kuongeza viwanja zaidi, kama mnavyoona kila pande tunacheza. Changamoto ziko kwamba vifaa vya michezo ndio kidogo tatizo. Hatutaki kulipwa, hatutaki pesa, unajua haiwezekani. Walakini vifaa watupe tu, shikeni vifaa. At least kila mwaka vifaa vya kutosha pawe ili tuendeleze ile gurudumu. Hapo jamaa. Lakini sasa kama hatuwasaidia vijana, kisha wanaenda kukaa barazani, wanaanza kusumbua serikali kwa kufanya mambo ambayo yasiyotakikana. Kisha tunaanza kuwapiga marisasi na kuwatia ndani hadi kusema kwamba vijana wanasumbua. Kwa sababu kama sisi hao kuwadanganya ni kuwapatia mpira. Hawahitaji kulipwa, just mpira tu. Kuwapatia mpira wenyewe watacheza. Tukipata wafadhili wakitusaidia, komiti yetu tutapanda manyasi na tuasubiri hamu ya mvua ikija kwa baraka za Mwenyezi Mungu inyeshe hapa, tayari tushafunga kama unavyoona.
Without his efforts, this place will have been grabbed by the land grabbers who whet their appetite for land in this area and similar places by targeting sporting facilities. For Bagazal, he might seem an ordinary man, but for youths who some of them have even retired playing, he has been a beacon of hope for their footballing and sporting dreams.
Wengi walikuwa wanakaa hapa jioni wanaanza kutumia mihadharati. Sasa sisi tukaona acha tusafishe hapa, tuweke maua kama Makadara Management Sports Committee ili wao tuambie nyinyi chezeni, badala hawatuna mpira tutawapatia mipira, tutawapatia vifaa, muje mcheze. Sasa waona wameondoka. At least ndio hao wengine wanacheza, wanaingia katika sports.
Any positive investment in the African youth is most welcome. But from sports stories now, we join Udoka Njoku. Hello, Udoka.
Hi, Felicity. And of course, we're heading straight to the Olympics, where we take our first story from the world of sports. Now, after being confined to going around the stadium for the last 2 days, the Olympic torch relay returned to public roads in Shiga Prefecture today. A state of emergency in Kyoto Prefecture saw the relay taking place in a restricted ceremony in a soccer stadium in Kamioka City. But the first of 2 days in Shiga Prefecture saw the torch back on the planned routes in rainy conditions. The International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach has continued to state that the games will go ahead as planned, and he also said that top priorities continues to remain on organizing safe and secure Olympic Games for everyone. And this was when he was speaking to the International Federation Forum on Tuesday. And from there, let's go straight to the European Track Championship, where it has been cancelled as a result of the ongoing political situation in Belarus. The 5-day championships were scheduled to start on the 23rd of June in Minsk. On Sunday, Belarus scrambled a warplane to force a passenger plane to land in Minsk in order to arrest the journalist. Enrico de la Casa, the president of the European Cycling Union, said the organization was now looking for another venue. Stephen Park, the performance director for British Cycling, said that while it was sad to lose another race from an already disrupted calendar, he is in favor of the UEC's decision. Now, Germany withdrew from the championships on Tuesday after the German Cycling Federation said it viewed the situation in Belarus very critically. From there, going back to the Olympics now, Nick Glimali, who suffered a broken arm when he was assaulted by rangers at the Table Mountain National Park in late 2019, was on Thursday named the South Africa's powerful cycling team to do battle at the Tokyo Olympics. Team South Africa has a shot at securing its first game cycling medal since Melbourne 1956, with Ashley Moolman-Pasio arguably offering the best chance in the women's road race. Now, Dlamini, Dario Impey, and Ryan Gibbons could be a force in the men's road race, and Alan Hartley could be a factor in the mountain bike category. The men will race 243 kilometers on a route that includes Mount Fuji on the first full day of the Games on the 24th of July, while the women are in action over 137 kilometers on the following day. Now, the deadline for track and field qualification is the 29th of June. And lastly, coming from the world of basketball now, Egyptian champion Zamalek and Angola's Petro de Luanda will face off in the semi-finals of the Basketball Africa League in Kigali, Rwanda. And Zamalek convincingly dismissed Forces Arms Police Basketball, that's the FAP of Cameroon, 82 to 53 points in the quarterfinals. And Zamalek started slowly and allowed FAP a 16-12 lead at the end of the first quarter before bouncing back to win the subsequent quarters 18-12, 25-14 and 27-11. And 18-year-old Mohab Yasser Abdelatif, the youngest player in the inaugural Basketball Africa League, scored 14 points. And Zamalek's head coach, Augustin J. Bosch, admitted that his players had some nerves coming into the game, which affected their starts. And that's a wrap on sports. Hand over to Felicity Ezewike.
Thank you very much, Udoka. Always an engaging time to listen to you from the latest in the world of sports. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Now, some of Nigeria's leading artists have been scheduled to perform in Audiomark's three-day virtual concert series, Hometown Heroes Nigeria. The streaming platform has put together the series to celebrate and showcase the best talents across the region. The concert series will feature exclusive performances from several of Nigeria's established and most promising acts. For more entertainment stories, News Central's Sam Daddy is standing by.
Thank you very much. And now to entertainment news. Nigeria's film industry has experienced an impressive boost despite the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the total number of Nollywood movies produced in 2017 was 450. It increased to 565 in 2018, 700 in 2019, and despite the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, it was the year with the highest production of movies at 2,599 relative to the previous years. Within the first quarter of 2021, Lagos has already produced a total of 149 movies and a total of 416 in Nigeria. Even with more movies expected to hit cinemas soon, I attended an exclusive movie premiere to see for myself the undying passion for the Nollywood industry.
I think the main reason why I'm here is for the storyline. I want to see how they told this story. Because, I mean, we all experienced lockdown. So I want to see the perception or the perspective they came from for the movie. And as much as I can, enjoy it.
You all know what we went through in the past year. And of course, everyone says we need to bring our stories closer to the people as much as we can. And this is an attempt at doing that.
I played the role of Mr. Martins, a delivery man whose wife was suffering then from lung cancer stage 4.
Actually, people have been seeing in the TV, admiring, people have watched growing up. I mean, people like Tony Umez, Charles Sawarum, Jerry Amilo. It was wonderful, man.
I did this movie because, first of all, if it's not even lockdown, because I believe in Moses. He's a fantastic writer. He's a storyteller.
This hospital is under lockdown.
It was truly an honor, I can't even lie. I was blown away, and I'm looking forward to more opportunities, to be honest. I love acting.
I'm very excited. I mean, it's Omotola Jalade kind of, you know, and when you think of that name, there's a lot to come with it. And of course, the call shade, look at the likes of Shalashobo Ali. I mean, it choke, so you know that it is only greatness. It is only greatness.
It's my passion for the industry. I love my work. I love the art. And yes, I'm hoping that we could take it to the next level. So the whole idea is to support, you know, everybody who share the same vision with me. I want to take it to the next level. And that's why I'll do anything to be part of that.
I'm part of the film, so I need to be here to support myself, first of all, and then support Moses, my friend, the director.
And the character I played in the movie is so intense, you know, and I had to keep that intensity from the beginning till the end.
It was my first time as well. Film is looking really, really dope, man, because it's a movie like no other, that's for sure.
the industry has come so far, you get, and we all have to support the crafts. It's not easy to make these movies. We have to build our industry.
The passion for the industry is certainly still alive, contributing 239 billion naira to Nigeria's GDP, about 2.3% as a result of the large number of movie productions every year. Well, that's all entertainment news. I am Sam Dandy.
Thank you, Sam. Sunny, cloudy, or whether or not to leave home with an umbrella? News Central Weather Desk is standing by for updates on that. And that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's remind you of our top stories. Somalia political leaders have agreed on a path to presidential elections. Authorities in Ghana have suspended rescue efforts for trapped miners. We also told you that Nigeria has a new chief of army staff. To follow us on social media, we are at News Central TV. Download our mobile app on App Store and Play Store. You can also watch us live on Star Times channel 274, Apple TV channel 23, and of course on YouTube. As always, many thanks for watching. My name is Phyllis.